Welcome everybody to our first episode of Lotus Jawns. So we all go by multiple attributes, but for this episode, I'm gonna go by Leek. I represent the medical Jawn, the healer Jawn, the spiritual Jawn, that Jawn. With me, I have my other two Jawns. Jawn?
I'm Fuzzy Heart. I am the artsy fartsy Jawn.
Jawn.
And I'm Nzinga, and of course, I'm the mom Jawn.
So this episode of the Lotus Jawns is gonna be dedicated to period. So we realize, just being women, that oftentimes, just amongst our sisters and amongst our moms, you aren't initiated into womanhood really with the full explanation of what your period is until it actually happens. And we don't want that to happen to y'all. And if it has already happened to you, I'm deeply and sincerely sorry. So I'll start things off just with an affirmation. So this one we kind of jointly put together, but I feel like since we're talking about a sacred time, we need to address our wombs. So, y'all with me?
Yep. Ready?
All right. So, my womb is healing. My womb is connected through my sisters. I am a powerful Jawn. All right. So we kind of worked on this from asking each other a couple questions.
Yeah,
just reflecting on
we had a
how
conversation about it, and that's how we kind of came up with how women are initiated into their womanhood. Some people have to talk. Unfortunately, like me, a lot of women aren't. So I have a question. Where does it even come from? This is a question I didn't get to ask before. I woke up one day and it just showed up. Where the hell did it even come from?
So that's a great question. I'm more into the metaphysicals. So I'm just going to say, there's a bunch of different answers that people kind of, lean into. There's a religious answer, that says that we were all doomed, we made a bad decision and then we were blessed with a period. I personally don't subscribe to that. I feel like, being a woman is one of the most fabulous things that you can become a part of. And entering into womanhood from your first menarche or your first period is truly amazing because it allows, you to know that your body is working and you're able to reproduce the highest form, which is yourself. So I would say that your period, it comes from the universal mother. It's been a gift that's been blessed and passed on from woman to woman to woman to woman to woman, from generations on. Men, they're beautiful in their capabilities, but they don't have the ability to carry life in the same way that we do. Mm-hmm. So, just to kind of answer your question, where your periods kind of come from, I guess that I can go over a quick synopsis of what the period actually is. This isn't health class. I am a nurse. I could go through the full list of where, your hormones rise and fall. But for this episode, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Pretty much what happens is when you have your cycle, your first menarche, it usually starts about 2 years after you have your first buds, or like your bosom starts to blossom. It's about 2 years after that. And from that point, there's a surge in your hormones, which signals your ovaries to start growing an egg. As that egg starts to grow and develop, and simultaneously your uterus is becoming fluffy to nurture what would be your first child. And if that egg, generally, it is not fertilized because most women start their cycle between ages 9 to 12. But that initial period is when that lining begins to shed. So that's pretty much the beginnings of womanhood. I feel like as a culture, being brown women, we've kind of removed ourselves from passing on the traditions of welcoming that. I remember as a child, the mamas would come around and there would be a period party or an initiation ceremony which would welcome you into motherhood or into womanhood. Because it's like from this point forward, you're able to replicate yourself and bring forth through life. So, little background story, as a doula, that's one thing that I would love to incorporate. It's like, so that it's not just a scary thing like, hey, you got your period, yeah. Here's a pad. That's it.
I feel like that's important because I don't know about anybody else's experience, but that was mine. It was just like, yo, I don't know what's happening here. It's like, here you go. What am I even doing? What is
right?
It's a giant Band-Aid in plastic wrap.
Yeah. I remember my mom, she, because when it happened to me, I was like, Graham, I think I got a cut. And she was like, what are you talking about? You got a cut? I was like, I'm bleeding from something is happening. And she's like, oh my God, you got your period. Da, da, da. And then my mom, she bought me like almost like a period welcome package. It had like pads, tampons, witch hazel, baby wipes.
Nice.
Like I think it might have had like some lotion or something, and she gave me a card with flowers.
Oh.
And it said something like "You're a woman now" and something like that. And it was nice because I got like gifts and shit. As I was like, oh, you know, I got my period, so now I got all this stuff, and I got a book bag that she put it in. It was a new book bag, so that was cool. Even though I wish I would have knew beforehand.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't like, dude, I'm bleeding. What the hell is going on? But it was nice to be like, oh, you're a woman now, and I realized that like, okay, now I can make a baby. I got that. I did understand that.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Should.
Okay,
Oh,
we have to add that hashtag.
yeah.
Tell them
Look
the
in the
truth.
camera, y'all,
Yes.
and say that.
Don't
Don't,
do
just
it.
because you can
Doesn't mean you have
should.
to.
Listen to your big sisters here, okay? So yeah.
Don't do it.
So yeah.
I think that kind of brought us into another part of discussion because each of you brought up just menstrual supplies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a good place to touch on. One, I'll ask the question: what do you guys like to use?
So now, of course, I'm a part of the cup club.
Mm-hmm.
But
In
initially,
case you didn't know what a cup was,
it was
and this one's new, but this been living in my makeup bag, so we'll see how this appears. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
nice and makeup.
yes.
You got blush
For
on it.
dramatic effect,
It's a girl cup.
pre-blush. Yes. So why do you like the cup?
Well, I'm new to this, but it's freeing. You don't have to think about it all day. I like that you can pop it in and kind of go and do whatever it is that you need to do. Like I have an active lifestyle. I'm the mom joint. I have a lot of children. I'm mom during the day. I don't have time. We go out. I don't have to worry about that. At least for about 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
But initially, of course, started with the pad, and the pad is really inconvenient. But I kind of thought that originally, like initially, that was the way to go. Like, all right, I'm going to be stuck doing this. They're irritating, and not all made from the same materials.
You
So
stick to your butt. That's something that they don't
Yeah.
talk about.
they don't tell you that.
Stick to your butt. It's okay. We're gonna talk about how to fix those things too.
Yeah, I mean that's where I started at, but I quickly segued into using tampons. And I know why you're laughing.
We got props.
You have props.
Tampon.
See, that's what's that, OB?
This is
That's
a
a
OB
OB.
tampon.
I would have never used that in the beginning.
Of course not.
That's too
This is an
advanced.
experienced
Yeah.
tampon users.
Yeah, I bought those by mistake once, and I had
Yeah.
went through maybe about
Matter of
5
fact, this
of
is
them.
actually a Whole Foods brand. This is organic
Yeah.
cotton.
Well,
Just so you know.
Yeah.
the tampons. I know you said your mom gifted you yours first, but you never used them?
Yeah, I didn't use them, Johns.
She wasn't using them Johns.
No, I did not use those. I was like, I'm not putting no pads. It is.
But do you remember her giant supply?
Yeah, my mom had like outside of the bathroom was like you know, like a linen
Linen
closet.
closet, yeah.
But it was full of
Of
like
women's supplies.
women's supplies and like toilet paper and like tampons and pads. And I remember our first time trying the
oasis.
tampons was my mom's tampon. And
Well, it took a few tries. We got into so much trouble about
yeah, because we used so many
like
of them.
30 of them. But even like
30?
maybe it was. I don't know. It was a lot. We got in trouble.
We got in trouble like
we
it
put
was
a dent
30.
in the inventory. Yeah. But like even when we first initially like when we tried to use it, that was like our first time getting into using it as a like that type of thing.
Yeah.
And
Because I don't think we had sex.
that was so
We hadn't had sex yet. So it's like, dude, we
What?
ain't had nothing going up in there.
no.
Right.
But
I'm
you-
going to
I-
backtrack a little bit
listen.
just to provide some layers of information.
because
So we talked a little bit about the
it
cup.
can be a little tricky.
And we talked a little bit about the tampon. So the tricky thing from a newbie, if you're newly initiated into your cycle, oftentimes you're starting off as a virgin. So the entryway and exit of your vagina is pretty much very much closed. So the idea of introducing a cup or a tampon seems like a foreign idea. Not to mention most people haven't went through the idea of self-discovery, of learning your flower by that point.
True.
So most people do start off with a pad. It's we're not hating on the pad. We've just gone through this series of pad life. But I will say, you know, for the new Jawns, due to this period life, If your mom says start off with a pad, my mom did. That was the only option that I had. So we'll talk a little bit about why, as you've developed and become more experienced with your period, why these are better options. But since I'm going to backtrack and we talked about pads, another option that you do have, this is by Ruby. Shout outs to Ruby. Is you can use period underwear. These are new and fresh. Never worn. So these underwear actually have a built-in pad. So they're more comfortable than actually putting a pad in your underwear and walking around with it. They don't move, they move with you. You can go hiking, you can go jogging, you can go horseback riding like the commercials tell you with your period underwear. They also come in fun filled colors, yellow, pink, purple, etc.
And what's up with the little lip in there?
So interesting. Still haven't quite, because again, I haven't used these yet, but I do really like that this is a brown company, and they advertise really well. They also have swimwear that is designed for periods.
Ooh.
So this internal lining, I believe, is to actually help anything from going up the back or up the front. Most period underwear that they do also advertise, Thinks is another brand, and they do also have period underwear that are just exclusively waterproof. They don't have a built-in pad. So if you do wear pads, or if you do wear tampons and you're afraid of leakage, because sometimes things happen, you can get leak-proof underwear and still use your
like
regular,
as a backup.
yes, and still use your maintenance products. So to backtrack a little bit on why the challenges of using a tampon before you've been initiated into, being sexually active is a thing. It's like trying to introduce this into your vagina and you don't know where things go. It might be extremely painful. I would say, tag in an older sister or your mom. Don't go fishing into your closet full of tampons and nobody knows that you're there. For multiple reasons. One, because TSS or toxic shock syndrome is a real thing.
Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
And even aside from that, like, they are okay. They are okay option, but it's like the drying effect with that. Like they don't allow your flowers, you like to call it, to like lubricate itself and do all of that self maintenance, the self cleaning, and
And the cup does, like.
Yes, this is awesome.
Yeah,
this
the cup's the shit.
Is awesome. It took me a while to get with it because I'm like, how am I gonna put this in there, pull it back out, and not spill all the contents all over everything and make the bathroom look like somebody died. But I will say that this is awesome. Traditionally, before the cup became a thing, tampons were the go-to. If you were afraid of messing up your outfit, if you wanted to go swimming, you didn't want anybody to know that your cycle was on, this was the way to go. We danced a little bit on what toxic shock syndrome is. Pretty much it's a condition where from having this tampon inserted, it allows for bacteria to be introduced into the vagina, and it can cause a bacterial infection to pretty much spread on into your bloodstream, which can cause death. So oftentimes when you're newly initiated into the period club, most women who would be those providing you education on what your cycle is would deter you from using this until you really become acclimated with your cycle to prevent things like that from happening. As of now, they often say that with the cup, the chances of you getting toxic shock syndrome is less because the cup doesn't sit as high up in the vagina. So the blood is collected here, which allows for more airspace inside of your vagina. But with anything that you're introducing into your flower, you want to make sure that it is clean, that you're washing your hands, that you're washing your cup, that you're changing your pad, tampon, etc. frequently and often. And white front to back. Somebody should have told you that. White front to back, not back to front. White front to back. Don't introduce coot to the coot. Okay? That's important.
So we were talking a lot about the cup, and there are different brands. So I know I've kind of pretty much been sticking to one brand. I think you've been sticking to one brand, but you have used
I have danced
multiple
amongst
brands,
more than one brand.
And sometimes I know you're saying that finding the right brand that works with you can be a journey in itself.
Yes, it is, because the cup is relatively a new thing. So since it's becoming new and exciting, more companies are introducing different shapes, different materials, and it's kind of helpful because not every flower is shaped the same. So I have tried Lunette, I have tried the Diva Cup, I have tried Salt Cup, I have tried, it was another cup. I've tried at least 4 cups. And I find that it's helpful that while you're trying to navigate that There's a website called Put a Cup in It if you're looking to try and figure out which cup works for you.
And what is kind of like like a quiz?
Yeah, it asks you which how your flow is, whether or not you've had children, because that changes the dynamics of your vaginal canal. Some cups have this end on it, some of them don't. Some of them are shaped more oblong, which is helpful. Yeah.
So I feel like we're talking a lot about periods, but there are some women that don't get their periods. Like me, I don't get my period because I'm on birth control, but there are also women who don't get their periods because of like an irregular flow or
after childbirth.
Yeah.
I experienced a few times.
Yeah, like anything.
Yeah.
So my thing is like, I know that I still go through like the hormonal emotions every month, even though I don't get my period.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is like, my question is how do I track my emotions and stuff like that when I don't get a period?
Perfect. You actually touched on a couple different things, and I'm glad that you also chimed in. I'm going to answer the first question, which wasn't a question, and then go back to your question.
Okay.
So, why might you not have a period? So you brought up the fact that it can happen after childbirth, and that can also happen when you're on birth control. So oftentimes when you're wondering when your cycle is going to happen, I was one of those, like my older sister got her cycle first. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm about to be initiated into the period club. She got her cycle at 9, and I got my cycle at 14. So I was like waiting with bated breath, like, is the womanhood fairy going to come to my house and also bless me with a period? Like I read, "Are you there, Goddess Me Margaret?" and I was waiting. There was a period pact. There was a period pact that happened amongst my girlfriends, and I was like one of the last ones to be like initiated. So to touch base on what can actually happen, why you might not have a period, generally the rule of thumb, and each woman is different, is after you start developing breasts, about 2 years after that, your cycle should begin. That isn't all truest for everybody, but in general, between the ages of 9 and about 14, you should begin a cycle. What are some reasons why you might not begin a cycle? You could be on birth control. You could be underweight. You could have most recently had a baby and been breastfeeding. You could have hormonal issues. You could have polycystic ovary, which I did find out that I had, which is pretty much a condition where your body skips periods. It's like you don't fully go through the cycle of your hormones peaking and cresting, which is what causes your ovaries to stimulate an egg to develop, your uterine lining to come to full flower, and then be released. Often women with PCOS or amenorrhea might have 4 periods a year, no periods a year, 6 periods a year, or skip. If you are highly athletic, if you're a gymnast, if you run a lot, that's the potential where you might not, have a cycle. So for any woman out there that's like, hey, I haven't had my cycle yet, I will definitely encourage you to go see your GYN and get some tests done. Oftentimes, another reason why you might not have a cycle, it could be that there's an underlying problem with your anatomy. Your uterus or fallopian tubes or ovaries might not have fully developed. Or there are those who are intersex that don't realize that they might not have a cycle because their hormones are shifted. Like they might appear on the outside masculine or feminine, but the inside is the opposite. So if you haven't reached the point of puberty and you're wondering, why not? It's always good to follow up, with your provider. # follow up with a doc. So to answer your question also for how do I chart my cycles if I'm not regularly having a cycle, there are a slew of apps that you can actually use. The Glow app is one of my favorites. I've used Period. I've used My Cycle, pretty much just to kind of get an idea of how the ebbs and flows of your cycles do happen. Because even though you're on hormonal birth control, and for the most part, birth control just kind of tricks your body into thinking that you're always pregnant, so that you don't go through the ebbs and flows of having, a release. So your body's like, oh, I'm constantly pregnant. But as a woman, you still do have hormones. So what I would say is you can still download those apps because most of them do also have a segment where you can chart your feelings.
Okay.
So it's like, today I feel happy. Today I feel sad. Today I feel depressed. Today I'm a little moody. Today I'm gassy. Today I've had diarrhea. And it does have, all of those coupled with your feelings, which is helpful.
Cravings too, I think.
Yes, it does also have cravings.
That I didn't chart those originally, but I started.
Yes.
They mean something.
They do. Yeah. Because especially for myself, because I am used to skipping cycles more than not. I can usually kind of tell when my cycle may come because my mood shifts.
Okay.
I'll be very grumpy beforehand, be starving, want to eat all the snacks, you know, and I'm eventually towards the end of like my ovulation where I'm feeling extremely amorous. Look up that word. I'll be amorous. Then, you know, I'll be extremely hungry, cranky, and then there's like an emotional swing where I don't want to be around anybody, where I feel like I could probably, you know, set the whole house on fire and cancel all my friendships. And then usually somewhere around there, I'm like, oh, I think this happened a couple months ago. Must be time, you know, for my cycle to come on. So I will say either writing it down or downloading an app where you can actually chart your emotions is helpful. And even if you're not actively having a cycle, don't feel like you have to exclude yourself from, you know, the world of being a part of having a cycle. Because there traditionally, you know, beforehand, we looked at, especially in some of the religious schools, you know, they look at having a cycle as being unclean or you have to be separate from everybody else. But it's really, you know, a beautiful thing to be a part of because you're a part of a large group of women who are sharing the same experience. So there is a lot of ritual work or prayers that happen around the cycle because it's at a point where you're most in tune. You know, it's like clearly something is happening to my body. You know, clearly I'm going through a slew of emotions. Like, let me channel this energy into something positive. So just because you're not actively having a cycle doesn't mean that you aren't welcome amongst the cycle crew. You know? So I would definitely encourage you to like write down your feelings or journal.
Yeah, I think I do want to do that. Cause like I noticed throughout the month that like sometimes I'm just like way more emotional than I usually am. I'm like, I dropped a carrot on the floor. And I'm like, so I do want to track it because I want to be prepared for that. Like I don't want to just be getting hit on a Tuesday afternoon feeling like my life is over because I don't know that like my cycle is going through its thing. So I think that is a really good idea.
And just kind of keeping a handle on your feelings anyway. I think from not having a regular cycle, it's easier for me now to know when it's about to happen. I say, oh yeah, I'm a little crazy this week. Like something's different. Yeah. You know, and it's because I know that for the most part I'm even keeled and something else has happened. So I think writing it down or charting it would kind of allow you to pinpoint that there's a difference. Yeah. Because during the weeks prior to your cycle, you know, there is a shift in hormones. You know, some people say it's PMS. Some people just generally don't accept that there is an emotional thing that happens because especially in this society, we're expected to pretend like everything is fine. Oh, you have cramps. Just, you know, take a naproxen, put your big girl panties on and keep going.
Cramps.
We didn't even talk about that.
I wanted to talk about, my question for cramps was like, what's a natural way to ease cramps? Because like when I did have my period, my cramps were just like reckless. Like the first 2 days, it was just like, I remember in high school, I would have to come home sometimes because my cramps would be so bad. I would be vomiting. And I wish I had like a better way to ease them than like popping pain pills all day. It got to the point where I only had to take pills the first 2 days, but like it used to be I had to take them pills for like my whole period because my cramps were so bad. So medical join.
Yes, John.
What can we do?
So there's a couple different things you can do. Generally, I'll say if you do have excruciatingly painful periods, hashtag from the medical John. It could be a sign that something else is going on, which you might not have addressed. So I'll have to start from the jump. If you notice that all of a sudden your cycle has changed, if it's lasting longer, if it's disappeared, if you're having heavier bleeding, if something's just not quite right, the smell is different, the color is different, these are things that you should also be charting. Go talk to your gynecologist because it could be something else afoot. You could have, with excruciatingly painful periods, you could have endometriosis, which is when the lining of your uterus somehow migrates outside of the uterus, which can cause really painful periods. Because as the uterine lining sheds inside of the actual uterus, it also sheds in other areas, which makes things extremely uncomfortable. Wow. Other things that can happen if you have had a bacterial infection or if you've had an STD that has become pelvic inflammatory disease. This can cause an extremely painful cycle. So other things, if this is just basic period pain, I've learned even for myself when I've had pain, changing my diet has helped. If I decrease the amount of milk, If I decrease the amount of mucus-causing foods, it generally helps. Ginger is fabulous. Ginger is fabulous.
So like
Ginger is
what?
fabulous.
Ginger tea?
Ginger chews, ginger, make a ginger steam. I love ginger as a go-to.
What about red raspberry?
Red raspberry is also a great uterine tonic. I'm not an herbalist. Hashtag I'm not an herbalist.
Not
But I will
raspberry
say-
flavored.
I will say that there are, herbal remedies that you can go to. Right now, yoni steam is also a thing. Using castor oil packs in between your cycles is also helpful.
What do you do with them?
Excellent question. So a castor oil pack is pretty much if you use cloth or cheesecloth and you actually take castor oil and you kind of put it right outside of your womb like this and put a heating pad or hot water bottle on top. It actually helps decrease uterine fibroids or things of that nature, which is helpful if your period pain is coming from those things. I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Look out for our products because clearly this is the next stage of the game. Also, yoni steam. What is a yoni steam, she said? That's pretty much where, different tribes, both Native American, African, Mexican, and the likes, there are many, many rituals around having a cycle, being a part of womanhood, that other people traditionally practice. So, to make this short and sweet, a yoni steam is pretty much taking herbs and either putting them into boiling water, and making like a tea and then sitting on them or sitting in a chair that has a hole in it. Some people also do like a bath with the same herbs, where you actually get into a warm tub and that's actually used to kind of clean your womb as a part of like uterine health. To also backtrack, things that are also good for pelvic pain or uterine pain or period pain. Yes, over-the-counter medications, Tylenol, ibuprofen, Aleve. Make sure that you're following the directions on the bottle and taking them accordingly because anything that you put into your body affects your body. But heating pads are great. I just found on Amazon they have portable heating pads. You can charge them and then just like attach them to yourself. Yes.
Modern technology.
Yes, it's fabulous. And just really allowing yourself the space to go through a little bit of the discomfort, But again, if you're noticing that your periods pain is extreme, I would definitely say go to your gynecologist. Exercise is also great for cycles.
Exercise?
Yes, exercise. Oftentimes you don't feel like exercising. Going into like yoga poses are good. Get on all fours, kind of arch your back, put your legs up in the air. I would do those when I'm wearing a fancy dress. They're also good at relieving period discomfort. But there are resources here for you. Hopefully at the bottom of this video, I'll add some links so that you can have those resources should you have those pains. Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Ashley had another one.
It was more so about the castor oil pack. But like you said, maybe we can compile all that information and add it somewhere below.
Castor oil packs are great. That's also something that's relatively new that people are discovering. I realized I've been a doula for about 15 or 16 years, and I've been a registered nurse for 9. But as a doula, I was doing a lot of these things before they became mainstream. So it's very beautiful to see that as a culture, we're looking for things that are more holistic. But yes, castor oil packs are great, even for women who are going through infertility. They're very, very awesome. Very awesome. Along with uterine massage is great. If you can find somebody to rub your belly in the midst of, just trying to, in the midst of both your period or even if you're trying to work on becoming pregnant. I'm also a practitioner of visceral massage. Hashtag. She's got a lot of skills. But yeah, another thing that we didn't address, but we talked earlier on, was just how to remain clean during your cycle.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things I remember in the early days of first having my period was like, oh my God, my biggest fear is that I was going to ruin my outfit and be completely embarrassed. I remember being in high school wearing my book bag low, just in case my period came on and I didn't know. Or wearing my jacket tied around my waist just in case. Just out of fear that something would happen and I would be unprepared. So it's beautiful in this day and time that there are so many resources to kind of prevent you from those scary things. But it's great that you mentioned in the welcome pack that your mom gave you for when you started your cycle that she included baby wipes and witch hazel and all of these great things. Because oftentimes you're not told that those are things.
Yeah.
Now they do have like wipes that you can buy.
Baby wipes save lives
Yes. They
do.
during periods.
Especially the flushable
Just don't
ones.
flush them.
Don't
Don't
flush them.
the ones that aren't flushable.
I was going to say, the flushable ones.
Yes, the flushable wipes are
my
everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Making sure that you are clean during your cycle and not smelling is essentially, it's so important. It is super duper important. Making sure that you're practicing good hygiene when you're taking your cup out, taking your tampon out, taking your pad out, and discreetly folding it and throwing it in the garbage is essential.
Don't flush your tampons down the toilet.
Public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
Because honestly, as a young lady, I did not know that.
You were flushing them and
Yeah, I thought that's what you did. I was like, of course they go in a fucking toilet. Where else would they go? They're not going anywhere
Hashtag
else.
sometimes we cuss. Yeah.
Oh, I'm the cussing John. No, but I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
I didn't know that until like, I'm not even going to tell you when I found out. I'm not even because that's embarrassing.
I mean, you could
But
say.
no,
we're
Some
not,
people are
this is
discovering at
no
this very
judgment
moment.
zone.
Was
it last week?
No. I would say it was years ago.
Okay, it's fine. We'll ask later.
But also, like you guys touched on, what is it? Throwing everything away, keeping everything clean. But for me, it's washing your hands before you even go there.
Go there. You gotta
walk in the bathroom. Once you put the lock on or whatever it is,
wash
you
your
do,
hands first.
Wash your hands.
Because whatever's
first.
on the knob, you're
They're
getting
going in
That's
there.
your lady
in your
part.
John.
Yeah, you don't want that in your John.
Come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, baby wipes, feminine care wipes, learning how to discard of your products appropriately is essential. That's why the beautiful thing about having
The
a
cup.
And even when using the cup, you can.
Awesome.
They have
Just-
like things
I
you can carry with
personally-
you.
I personally, this is like the little bag that they have with the cup. Now, I'm a germaphobe,
use
so
it?
usually when I do this, especially if I'm out in public and I have to change this, I put on medical gloves and then remove it, empty it, and then reinsert it because I believe in like not introducing foreign things into your vagina because then you wind up with even more problems than you started off with.
Yeah.
But that'll be for another episode. Yes, things that can happen.
Things that can happen in the vagina.
Yeah. I'm trying to think
Really?
if we touched on everything.
I mean,
Yeah.
just about. I mean, we covered a lot of information, so I feel like we do need to compile all of this info for the ladies to read.
Yeah, maybe we can have like
We're
a
gonna
starter
get a brochure.
packet.
We're gonna get you a period starter pack from the Lotus Jawns. It's gonna
Yeah.
include all of these items. Give us some time, okay?
Yeah.
You gotta watch a couple more of these videos so we can get like our capital.
Right.
But just to do a quick review, we really appreciate that you guys are watching. We hope that you have trusted and entrusted your sisters to give you a little bit of information about your period. Period. You know, just to backtrack, there's a slew of products that are available for you. Your period is normal. We're here with you. You are not alone in this process. There are resources for you if you're going through period pain. It's fine. It's normal. But if you feel like it's a little abnormal, tap into your gynecologist. Okay? Other things, if you feel like you're afraid that things are going to be messy, it's okay. Sometimes that happens. Don't be afraid of the mess, but also know that resources are there for you. Don't feel awkward while you're going to go buy your period supplies too, because guess what? There's a bunch of other women in the store who are also buying.
Buy them proud.
And those men that are in the store have ladies that have period products at home in their bathroom.
And one day you'll be able to send your man to the store to get you period products.
I wouldn't hold my breath.
What'd you say?
I wouldn't hold my breath on that.
I don't know if I've ever done that.
I haven't, but I know my husband loves me enough to do that for me if I ask him to one day.
I know that there's people out there who would love me enough, but I don't know if I would put me into that. Maybe I would.
What if you're like sick or something and your period comes on and you need your husband to go get you some?
Maybe. I mean,
Well, I mean, I got y'all,
There's-
so y'all would come right. Y'all would do it, right?
yeah,
You got it,
I
right?
would do
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
Sweet mom doing? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that you would. It's absolutely normal. So yeah, I'm glad that we were able to give you a little bit of information just of where your period comes from, that there are resources here for you. We're just kind of gonna wrap up. But should you need us, we're here for you.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Send us your questions. If you
Yes.
have questions, like just type them in the comments below.
Yes. Hashtag Lotus Jawns are here for you. Just look at us like your big sisters.
Right.
We got your back.
I think it would be good to close out with the mantra again, the affirmation.
I'm with it.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. Just to set it off on
We want you
a
to know
smooth
that
note.
you're a
Yeah.
powerful Jawn.
Yeah, you're a powerful
Okay?
Jawn. Yeah.
So, ready?
Yes. My womb is healing. My womb is connected through my sisters.
I am a powerful Jawn.
All right, peace, guys.